Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back for another video of DIY investing. It's been about 5 days since my last update, and in those 5 days a lot has happened inside of the market. Bitcoin finally showed us which way it was going, and we have now sold through support, bleeding the majority of the altcoins along that way down. With that being said, what's going to come next for Bitcoin? Are we about to see even more significant lows coming, or could we potentially see the next leg up to about that all-time high mark? I'm going to be diving in today, and we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. I'm going to be talking about all of my thoughts and analysis and how I'm tying up all of what's happened over the last week. If you guys are new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more awesome updates like the one in this video. Now, if you're somebody that's looking for more of my analysis, make sure you hit the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Okay guys, we got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so here we are. Now, obviously a lot has happened since my last update. I apologize that I didn't get to this sooner. I've just been really busy with a lot of different things. I also woke up feeling a little bit sick today, but I really wanted to get you guys a video produced and just kind of talk about what is going on inside the market, because a lot is happening. And I'm going to show you guys a couple changes that I've made. Now, remember, from the initial impulse up from this blow off top, let's drop it to a daily time frame. This move right here, this big blow off top that we saw, on this rally I was watching for 13.5 as my resistance, and then I was watching for 11.5 as my other one. So let's mark 11.5 here, and let's mark 13.5. Now, during this leg up, I was watching for my resistance at 11.5 and then 13.5. I said that if we could close above 11.5 and hold support, then that was going to set us up for the next leg up to about this $17,200 level. My next resistance was 13.5, and so after we cleared 11.5, we went up just a little bit higher than 13.5, and then that's when we actually got our biggest retrace from there. And we sold back down below this 11.5 mark. And so really for the longest point of this retrace, I've been telling you guys the exact same levels, and my levels haven't changed. The only thing that I've really changed is where my entries were going to be casted for my bids. And then I also started to develop this descending triangle because I felt like it was a lot more of a descending triangle as far as symmetry than it was a symmetrical triangle. Because of the fact I was able to trade the last bear market that we just had in Bitcoin, and I was able to kind of see how these bear setups play out, I had a little bit of confidence going into this pattern that we were going to fall even lower. Now, the one thing that I can say that had me a little bit had me questioning whether or not we were actually going to drop that low was the fact from our initial top at about 13.7, 13.8 approximately, until we made our bottom of support was about 33, almost 34% to that support level. Now, what I've been telling you guys from this initial rally is when we do experience a longer correction, those corrections generally last anywhere from about a 30 to a 40% retrace. And that's what's happened. That's what I've seen, and I'm applying it to what I've seen at trading the last bull market cycle. So what I've been watching for is roughly the same thing. Now, once we hit our first support zone at about 9,100, that was when we had our first little bounce back up. But we continued to consolidate, make lower highs, and then we ended up selling through here. Now, my last update took us about right here, and I told you guys after this big bullwhip candle, I said that there was the possibility that we could break out. A couple days after my initial video, we sold through that support level convincingly. And so for right now, we're just kind of watching to see exactly what is going to happen from the market. And so by me saying that, let's dive in, and I'm going to talk about my trading plan. I'm going to apply it to what I'm watching for Bitcoin and how I'm trading Bitcoin right now. Now, what I told you guys, let's remove these resistance levels up here. They're not important. Now, what I told you guys, my first target after we started selling off here, I told you guys that my first place that I was going to be casting my bids was 9,100. And so 9,100 takes us to roughly that lowest support zone that we had. And so I was actually able to get filled on this initial retrace back down, just barely. I'd really nailed that target, and so I was really happy with getting filled there. But then once we bounced and then we started dropping and making lower highs, that's when I created my next two targets at about 8,350 and 7,600. And that's what I've been rocking with ever since. And I've updated you guys as followed. Now, with this sell-off that we saw, once we broke support, we actually hit my target of 83.50, and I got filled on my second entry. So currently speaking, from the high of the move to our first target was about 33%, and to our second target was just under 40%. And so I'm really not expecting a whole lot more downside. To be honest, I think I'm lucky to get filled on the 76 target. I don't know if I will for certain, but it looks like we do have a lot of potential to get filled on that target. Now, is it possible we could go lower from there? Yeah, it's always possible, but I would not get your hopes up in saying that. Now, from the high of the move to my third target at 7,600 is almost a 45% correction, 44.5% correction. And so that itself is, I think, the exact same size as the biggest sell-off that we saw in Bitcoin's last cycle. This entire bull run up, I'm pretty sure that the first sell-off, or the biggest sell-off that we saw was maybe here, or I think it could have been this one. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but one of these sell-offs, the biggest one that we had, was 44%. And so by us hitting my third target, we're going to be at that 44% mark. And so I really do not expect a whole lot more downside, guys. And I've been telling you guys that even here at the support at 9,100 after my first bids got filled, I said that it's still very possible that we could break up and go higher. But with the formation of the descending triangle, I started to get a lot more of a bearish bias, especially when we started selling off right here. I kind of just knew that we were ready for the end of that. Now, the cool thing about what's going on currently is we're just waiting for support to be found. Now, let's throw up some Fibonacci, and I'll show you guys kind of how I develop my targets in the first place. So, now the 618 takes us to about 72.50, or that $7,200 mark. And a lot of people have targets for there, and it's very likely that we could go down here and fill that. That currently sits at a pretty stable support, roughly the average of that 6K support, I think just a little bit over that, 7,200. And so I think that we're at a very important point where I don't expect a lot more downside because we've already sold off so much. Now, I just don't think that it's likely that we're going to drop back down below the 618 mark. My guess is the lowest that we're going to be dropping is about that $7,200 mark. But the reason why I have targets at 76 is because I'm really not even expecting it to go that low. So with that being said, guys, I'm really just playing this smart. I've just taken observations and I've analyzed the previous bull cycle. I actually had the opportunity to trade that the whole way up. And so from trading that, I was able to kind of see how the markets behave and move a little bit. Now, the cool thing about what's going on right now with this retrace is market structure seriously looks almost identical to all the other retraces that we saw on the bull ride up. Like, look right here. And I'm pretty sure if you look on Twitter, you're going to find this exact comparison. But this is what I've been watching for with this move for the longest time. Because now that we have entered this bull market, it's important to note that the retraces are going to get volatile, but when they bounce out, it's going to happen quickly. And we're going to see roughly the same sort of consolidation here. Now, even though this is a little bit different, we saw similar market structure. We had the sell-off, we contracted in a triangle, and then we sold off for one more leg down before we hit these support levels, and then we immediately bounced back up on the upside. Now, the only real difference between what happened right here and what's happening in Bitcoin now is the fact that back in the day with Bitcoin in the last cycle, there was a build-up process that took place. We had the first leg up and we consolidated for a few months. We had the next leg up, consolidated for a few months, and then it just got more and more parabolic. But what we're seeing in Bitcoin right now is roughly the same sort of retraces and parabolic run that we saw after we broke out of that all-time high mark in Bitcoin. So I think that this cycle is just more parabolic in nature. Now, it is possible that we could see something that happened back there. I think that this being the first leg up in the cycle, there is still the possibility that we could kind of chop around here at these lows before bouncing up and maybe making a little bit of a slower build up than that last cycle that I just showed you. Whereas the last cycle kind of did something like this. The last cycle impulsed something like this straight out of these lows, and it is possible that we could see something like that, but I want to keep in mind that we could also see something of a little bit more consolidation that takes us to these lows before we kind of build that process back up and then start impulsing up. And so I just want to point that out, the fact that we could be here for a little bit longer than a lot of people expect. Now, because we have sold off so strongly, it's probably less likely that we're just going to break out straight out of here, especially just because of the fact that we're still within this all-time high mark of the last market cycle. So generally speaking, it doesn't go just straight up. There is a little bit of a build-up process. So I think that this is actually an excellent time to be buying. You can't really go wrong, guys, in my opinion, buying right now. Bitcoin's currently sitting at 8K. This is the Bitfinex chart. 8K is a steal. I remember everybody back in this rally up when we hit 14K, everybody was so happy to even consider buying Bitcoin at 10K. And now we're currently $2,000 short of that, sitting at 8K and looking like we're going to drop even into these 7,000s. And so right now, honestly, the best buying opportunity that you're going to get, whether it goes down a couple $100, it really doesn't matter in my opinion, because now is the best time that you could buy. The risk to reward is very much in your favor of things, and so I'm expecting this next leg up to really get impulsive, guys. And the fact that we're sitting at 8K, just to the 14K mark is about 71%. To the next lower high would be 114%, and to the all-time high mark is about 150%. And so this next leg up, you have the opportunity to make a lot of consistent gains by holding Bitcoin. And the fact that we're consolidating so low is giving you guys the best buying opportunity that you're going to get before Bitcoin becomes too expensive for the average person to even buy, which it already is. The average person can't buy a full Bitcoin. Most people don't. And so we're already out of those realms where we're starting to distance ourselves from the majority of the crowd. People are now looking at Bitcoin in terms of dollar value instead of looking at the fundamental use cases. And so people are scared out of Bitcoin just because it's valued so high. But you got to keep in mind, it's the exact same thing that happened back here. Now, if you guys recall, back in the day, people were not buying Bitcoin at $400. Oh, I should have bought it down here at $50 or $60. Now it's at $400. Or, wow, Bitcoin's at $1,200. I should have bought it when it was at $400. Better wait until next time. And they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and Bitcoin goes parabolic. And that's the way that the cycles kind of work. The average retail investor is not a smart investor, and so they're going to make a lot of dumb mistakes. Now, I want to make this channel and I make these videos for you guys so that I can tell you exactly what you should not be doing with the wake of volatility. Well, I show you guys my personal trading plan because I know how complicated it can get when you're trading a new bull market, especially one as volatile as Bitcoin. I got chopped up a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of successes on the way up as well. But I can tell you guys that if I would have known the things that I do now trading the last cycle, or at least I had somebody that I could kind of listen to or trust, I would have been a lot better off because there was so much good that came out of that last bull cycle. In the cycle that's happening now, there's even more that's going to be coming. And so this initial rally up from 3,300 all the way up to 14K is just our first little leg up. And let's go in here before we wrap up this video. One thing that has changed, guys, is my Elliott wave count. I originally had this as the 1, this was the 3, and then we'd have one more final 5 wave up to this all-time high mark. But to me, I've changed that up a little bit, and I think that this is just the 1 wave. This was our 1 of 1, this was our 3 of 1, and this was our 5 of 1. So all of this equals our first Elliott wave impulse up. And this is kind of the way that I'm going to be basing my trading plan around. So this was the 1, the next wave will be the 3, and then we'll have the 5. And I think that this specific Elliott wave count actually goes a little bit better with this impulse being the final 5 of the 5 wave. And this big impulse here would have been the 3. And what I mean by that is this would be the 1, this would be the 3, and this would be the final 5 wave impulse out of there. Now, I haven't actually gone through and really tried to analyze the Elliott wave count, so this is just a rough estimate. But what I wanted to show you guys is that this does have the potential for a 1, a 3, and a 5 wave impulse. And so what we're currently working on is the final 5, the 5. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but Credible Crypto is another Elliottician. It's one of the most popular, one of the better Elliottician traders that I've actually seen on YouTube. And he actually has this labeled as the 3-wave, and we're just kind of correcting in that 4. Now he has this labeled as a triangle. This entire bear market and even this rally up is just kind of consolidation inside of that contracting triangle. And that contracting triangle is going to take us into our final 5-wave impulse out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try and draw specific targets for you guys because nobody knows exactly how high Bitcoin is going to go. Now, what I can say is that if we look at the last 5-wave that we saw inside of Bitcoin, we're going to know that the 5-wave impulses can get really intense. I mean, the final 5-wave in Bitcoin went from 3 grand all the way up to almost 20 grand. And so these 5 waves can get impulsive. So this being the final 5 of the 5, we have a real big opportunity to see some insanely explosive market cycles coming. And so really, guys, this is the update I had for you. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter because I am sick, but I wanted to go through and just kind of talk about Bitcoin. It's been a few days since I've updated you guys. I want to talk about the things that I'm watching for. Now, I didn't go into a ton of detail on this. I kind of just talked about the rough outline that I'm playing with, my support levels, where I look to enter the market, and how I'm going to be playing this next leg up and what I kind of expect to see with current consolidation. I really wanted to just briefly touch up on those principles. I didn't try and dive in and give you guys a really specific Elliott wave count, but I will do that very soon. A lot of people have been asking me in my Discord for that, and so I will be getting back to that, and I'll show you guys exactly kind of my in-depth analysis. This is really just an outline that I'm rocking with. I think that this does have a lot of potential for this being the final 5-wave impulse. And it would also coexist nicely with just the valuation of a market cycle in general. This, in theory, would be the big wave where all of the institutional money floods in. This would be the big wave where all of the retail FOMO goes absolutely insane. And generally speaking, it would make sense that that would come at pure euphoria at the final 5 of the 5. So that's kind of what I'm watching for currently. Now, originally, I just had us having a completely new bull cycle. This was the 1, 3, and the 5 up. And so this was its own big cycle. And so I kind of expected us to see something similar where we had a 1, a 3, and then the 5 wave took us to that all-time high mark. We retraced from that a little bit, and then that was our 1. And that's still in the play of things, but I wanted to point out the fact that I am now considering this as my primary count. Wanted to quickly touch up on that so you guys knew kind of what I was thinking. But with that being said, guys, I think that this is your last real buying opportunity that you're going to get with Bitcoin to accumulate at less than that $10,000 mark. It's a steal at these prices. I cannot believe that we're actually seeing a retrace this low, even though I've kind of been expecting it and waiting for it. It's weird to actually see it happen because of how parabolic this thing got on the initial leg up. It really left a lot of people in the dust, me including. I wish I would have bought more, wish I would have took less profits, but you live and learn. I still have my long-term bags holding away, and so now that I'm accumulating back into this dip, I'm just ready to kind of make sure that I'm not stuck taking too many profits too early, because this Bitcoin cycle is going to be very quick. It's going to happen very fast. We could very easily see a front running before the halvening where prices and institutional investors start buying up the rumor of the halvening, and then prices go really parabolic, and then after the halvening we start to maybe have one more final impulse up before the big bear cycle, or we sell off shortly after the halvening. And I think that we could see something like that. I'm not going to sit here and talk about too many theories, but I really just wanted to briefly touch up on my thoughts, kind of the things that I'm thinking. It's been 5 days since I last updated you, so there's a lot of things that have been on my mind. Anyways, guys, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any more videos like the one provided here. Now, if you want more awesome analysis, click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. Thank you all so much for the support. I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.